let's take a look at the box office from this past week. Total domestic box office was a little under $74 million, which was a basically even Steven from where we were last week. I forget, I double-checked the number. I was like, did my formulas calculate this right? A 0% change? I did compare, and I forgot, hold on, sorry, I just got a message from somebody. I was concerned that maybe, I fucked up the formula somehow, but I did double check it and noticed that it's basically the same, though the fact that this zero is in red leads me to believe that it must be negative 0.01%, something really, really small. But it's still technically less than last week, but still basically held exactly where it was, though not the biggest accomplishment in the world, considering last weekend was pretty poor, considering it was Oscar weekend. So, take all of that for what you will. Biggest new movie here, we got Mickey 17 opening at number 1, which was good to see. This is Bong Joon-ho's, follow-up to his critically acclaimed Parasite. This brought in a little over $19 million, which is good, right? It not only fell within the projections, but actually exceeded my target of around 18. And I can't remember, let me do a little quick math here. I can't remember how Parasite did overall. So, the budget of Parasite, when converting it into US dollars, was around 11 million, and box office made around 258 million, right? So that was very, very successful. It's not looking like this is gonna be as successful, right? Because just by nature of the fact that it's 10 times the budget, whereas that was 11.4, this is $118 million. So right now it is very firmly in the red. It's definitely been getting good reviews, but Bong Joon-ho's films have never been huge box office powerhouses, and this really feels like kind of a blank check movie, right? Where after winning Best Picture, any and every studio was excited or eager and willing to get him, make his next film. Because they're hoping lightning will strike twice, but if you know anything about lightning, it rarely strikes in the same place twice, right? Again, not to say this isn't good, but I haven't seen it, but I'm suspicious or doubtful that it's going to have the kind of percent return that something like Parasite had. I think at this point, seeing kind of a semi-weaker opening, it did open at 53 worldwide, so most of its money is coming from overseas, but even still, I think right now the name of the game is just to at least make $118 million, and then if so, great, and then go from there and worry about that. Also opening this week, right at the very bottom, just one spot above the bottom, I should say. At number 9, we have Rule Breakers. This is a Christian film, or at least it's being distributed by, I believe it's Angel Studios. What is it's about the first girl, what is it? It's about the first female robotics team in, I'm totally blank. It's not coming up where it takes place. It's I want to say Iran or Afghanistan, but I feel really ignorant just saying one of those, so now I have to know. Rule Breakers in a nation. Or maybe it's not specified what country it is. Maybe it's just supposed to be vague vague fundamentalist Islamic country. Those evil Muslims over there, as some fundamentalist Christians might say. Of course, I'm not saying that. This was much more disappointing, right, than Mickey 17. It only brought in about $1.5 million, falling below even the low end of the projections of 3 to 6. I put a target on 4, so definitely a disappointment. Don't have budget numbers on this, though, so that's the thing, right? I mean, this could be low in terms of what people were expecting. I can't imagine it was made for less than $1 million, so I would imagine it's still in the red. But again, with a company like this, I think they build into their business strategy the ancillary markets, right? Like rentals and streaming and physical. Especially, I feel like physical is big for movies like these because physical there's only two kinds of people who buy physical media anymore. Cinephiles, I guess you could lump me there, and people who are behind the times, right? So, which, the Venn diagram of fundamentalist Christians who would be really inspired by a movie like this, and people who are behind on technology, there's some overlap there on that Venn diagram. So, I wouldn't, if I were the makers of this film, I wouldn't freak out necessarily, but it's definitely a little disappointing, because even if the expectations were low, not being able to even meet those low expectations, is concerning, right? Or at least disappointing, right? And I believe it made all of its money domestically. Like, I don't even think this is playing anywhere else. Because again, it very much caters to like an American worldview of like those evil countries over there. They don't let women, they don't let women learn about robots, which is maybe true, but it's not like we are super encouraging of our women here in this country. Looking here in its second week, Last Breath held its third place spot. This is the Woody Harrelson thriller, being 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in a sense, right? This brought in a little under 7 million, only a 15% drop, so that's actually really good. But again, considering how poor, or how historically low Oscar weekend is, it's not like a huge, it's nothing to write home about, but maybe tell someone nearby. This analogy is starting to fall apart here. So, so far total, it's made a little under 15 million worldwide, but again, off of like an almost $24 million budget. So it's still in the red. I'm not sure, if it still has some markets that it needs to open in. But again, this is where, again, still only the second week, but this is where I would start getting a little concerned, right? But this is mostly, again, this top 10 is mostly just a continuation of weeks past. We have The Monkey here dropping from second to fourth place. Now in its third week, bringing a 6.4-ish million. Pretty, not big drop, but compared to everything else here, about a 40% drop. Though the key thing here is the ROI, right? So it's made almost 46 million worldwide off of just an $11 million budget. This, of course, is the follow-up from Osgood Perkins, his follow-up from Longlegs, which itself was a huge box office powerhouse, at least when it came to again, that percent return. It seems like we're continuing the trend here. An over 300% return, which is really great to see. By contrast, Mufasa the Lion King, which has been like this big success story in a sense. This is its 12th week in the top 10. Dropped from 6th to 8th place, made about 2.4 million. This has been successful in the sense that it's just been, look at the legs. It's just been sustaining itself week after week after week, making almost more than $700 million. But since it was made for $200 million, it has a lower percent return than The Monkey, right? So what that means is every dollar that they put into The Monkey, they're making more money off of that $1. So, 700 million, 700 minus 200. So, a $500 million profit, that's pretty good. But, maybe it would be better if you just made a lot of smaller movies and divvied up that budget. If, obviously there's the creative argument for that, but just purely from a business standpoint, you diversify. There's a reason why they call these movies tent poles, because in a tent, if you knock out a tent pole, the whole thing comes down. Like, there's only one huge failure can really hurt your bottom line. So, it's really encouraging to see, something like The Monkey, which I guess hasn't been getting great reviews, but it's still performing well. It has its niche audience, and they're showing up, right? Which in this state of the American box office and theatrical exhibition, environment, that's really encouraging to see. Captain America: Brave New World dropped out of its first place spot down to 2. Now in its fourth week, brought a little under 13 million. A 42% drop. This is at least now finally truly profitable, right? Because you don't want to just make back the budget. You ideally want to double the budget to cover marketing and advertising costs, which aren't usually included in those budget numbers. So it was made for 180 million. Worldwide now it's made over 360. So now it is officially in the green. You know, we could consider this profitable, quote unquote. But again, considering where Marvel was in terms of its movies 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, 5 or 6, like, you know, right before the pandemic, I'm sure this is really disappointing, especially off of the sugar high that was Deadpool and Wolverine from last summer. Though I think if Disney and Marvel were kind of using Deadpool and Wolverine as a potential comparison, that was foolish, right? Because there's just so many, it's like comparing apples and oranges, right? You know, Deadpool and Wolverine was a multiverse movie. It had Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine. It's a Deadpool movie. People love Deadpool. It was kind of a swan song for Fox's Marvel properties. Summer, it was a summer movie. It kind of was the end, the big climax of the summer box office season. So it's not really fair to compare this to that, but again, this should definitely be getting Marvel worried, and I think it's just another testament to just people are tired of the same old from Marvel, which is why I think a lot of people, myself included, are excited about the new Fantastic Four movie, because it's not just new characters, but it's also, it seems, I don't want to say stylistically different, but maybe I do want to say stylistically different. It feels like I'm getting a different offering, different from what we've just been getting. I heard someone compare it where it's, you know, Marvel's kind of become like McDonald's, where it's like you're gonna get, no matter where you are, or you know, whether you're in Texas or New York or a fort like Spain or Tokyo, wherever you are, a Big Mac is gonna more or less be the same. But because of that, it's all homogenized and it's reliable, but not necessarily, it doesn't really inspire the soul the way that, you know, a really good hole in the wall burger place, right? So you know, I think Marvel is probably a little worried, but they're definitely going to be looking to see how does Thunderbolts do in, I think it's May, and then really Fantastic Four is going to be like the big test case. Let's see here. Dogman still in the top 10, though it did drop out of the top 5 from 5th to 6th place, but now in its 6th week, right? 4.5 million. You know, again, this is also profitable. This is one that you're really seeing a lot of strong players that are just in the top 10 for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is encouraging to see. Though really cool, and I kind of predicted this. One of my few predictions I actually have gotten right is Anora jumping into the top 10, right? Of course, Best Picture winner, huge sweep at the Oscars, 5 awards for the film in various categories. Jumped from 22nd place to 7th place, a 547% jump, right? Again, only like $2.4 million, but this is why award season is so important when it comes to business, if you were like a studio executive, because films that get nominated get a little bump, and then films that win awards also get a big bump. And look at the ROI on this, right? It's only made about $47 million worldwide, but it was only made for $6 million, right? So this is a very, very chunky, if I could be so bold and use that adjective, it's a very chunky ROI, right? And again, I feel like we would all be better served if we just made a lot of cheaper movies than a bunch of 200, you know, 100, 150, $200 million movies, right? So a very interesting top 10 this week. You know, March is certainly not the beginning of the box office season. It's kind of like, I mean, it's not the beginning of the summer box office season, but I feel like the summer box office season is kind of like Christmas, where it's like every year, and maybe just because I'm an adult, but it's like every year it feels like, or every holiday, Halloween, Valentine's Day, it's like you start seeing the decorations earlier and earlier, like the stuff at Walgreens or Walmart or whatever, right? The fact that the summer box office season does not start, not in June, but more so May, and sometimes actually more like late, middle, or even early April. So we're definitely not there yet, but we're getting closer. So we're going to definitely be seeing a lot more bigger openings. But this upcoming weekend is, like I said, is not one of those. So, coming ahead, we have Novocaine. This kind of action, I think this is like kind of an action comedy with starring Jack Quaid. Where I guess he's becomes a hitman, kind of like a John Wick style thing, but the whole idea is that he can't like get hurt. This is projected to make around 6 to 12 million. I'm gonna put my target right in the middle at 9. Again, the fact that this is our biggest movie coming this weekend, and we're barely cracking like the 10 million range, kind of speaks to the moment, if you will, right? Then we got Black Bag. This is projected around 5 to 10. I'm gonna put this around 7. This is a Steven Soderbergh film. It's like a spy thriller. Soderbergh just is one of those directors who just pumps out a lot of stuff, and he's made a lot of really great stuff, but also a lot of just good or okay or whatever kind of stuff. So, again, not really projected to make all that much money. Then we also have Opus. It's an A24, I believe, film. Oh, where is this? I wanted to pull something up about it. Here we go. It's an A24 film. It's a thriller. It's like, I feel like, I saw the trailer for it, and it kind of just looks like your standard A24 social thriller in a sense. I don't really know all that much about it, but it's projected to make around 4 to 8 million. Again, I'm gonna put my target right in the middle, and put it around 6. Again, pretty small opening, all things considered. And then one that's is good and bad to see. We have actually a Looney Tunes movie called The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. Aptly titled. I believe this was a movie that was not going to get released. It was going to kind of be like Coyote versus Acme. But luckily it's being released. But it's not going to do very well. So I don't know. I forget if Warner Brothers is distributing it or if they kind of found someone else to do it. But whoever's doing it decided not to put a lot of money into the marketing, because I have not seen anything about this movie, and because of that, I'm assuming it's not really going to make much, and that's where the projections are, right? Around 2 to 5 million. I'm going to put my target around 3. Wow, what an interesting story. I'm sure you have some thoughts about the topic, so comment below, let me know what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really, really helps people find the channel and makes me feel all warm inside. Until next time, I'm Peter Mancuso. Peace out.